Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into a heartbreaking story that shook a community and captured the attention of the nation: the tragic murder of April Jones. April Jones was born on September 4, 2007 in Machynlleth, a quaint market town in Wales. Machynlleth was quiet, with a population of only around 2,300 people. She was the beloved daughter of parents Coral and Paul Jones and had two siblings. Described as a cheerful and lively girl, April was known for her infectious smile and adventurous spirit. On the evening of October 1, 2012, everything changed. April had spent the day at school before going swimming. After swimming, she had spaghetti on toast for tea, and then went out to play with friends. Despite having cerebral palsy, April lived an active, happy life. She was bubbly and outgoing, headstrong, and someone who really ruled the roost at home. Just before 7 p.m., her mom reluctantly let her go out to play. April took her bike and met up with a friend to play near her home. Her parents allowed her to play outside, as it was a safe area and everyone knew each other. But that evening would take a dark turn. Moments later, April's friend says that she saw April climbing into a light-colored van. April was never seen again. She never made it back. Around 20 minutes later, April's brother went out to collect her, and moments later returned, out of breath, to the family home, reporting that April was missing, and she had gone off in a car. April's mom, Coral, jumped into action, calling police straight away before going out into the estate to look for her daughter. The police arrived quickly and got straight to work. April's image was circulated to the press, and the news outlets quickly picked it up. April's disappearance was the first use of a nationwide child rescue alert in the UK. A massive search operation was launched immediately. Local police, volunteers, and even the community came together, combing through the area. Search teams scoured fields, woodlands, and the nearby river, hoping to find any sign of the little girl. As the hours turned into days, hope began to dwindle. The community was in shock, and social media exploded with appeals for information. People across the UK were urged to keep an eye out for April. The police quickly established April had got in the car willingly, using the witness statement of her friend. As was typical of an investigation of this kind, police focused their efforts on known pedophiles in the area, but that same evening, they arrested a 46-year-old man, confirming that although he was being questioned, they had not found April and were continuing to search for her. The Guardian reported that the man was picked up on foot walking outside of the town, and that he owned a vehicle similar to the one described, which had been seized and was being examined. Following his arrest, a 12-mile stretch of that road was closed off by police. The following day, on October 3rd, police named the man in custody as local man Mark Leonard Bridger, who was described as living close to April's home. Bridger had a troubling past, including a history of violence and sexual offenses. The police focused their efforts on him, and a thorough investigation began. It was an unusual move from the police, releasing his name and photo, along with a picture of his vehicle and license plate. Generally in the UK, identities are held back until a suspect is charged. Bridger claimed he had been at home the night April went missing, but his story didn't add up. The authorities discovered that he had been seen driving his vehicle near the area where April disappeared. The police needed to know Bridger's movements between 5 p.m. on Monday evening until his arrest at 3:30 p.m. on Tuesday. Despite continuing to search, including using mountain rescue teams, dog handlers, and performing water searches, there was still no trace of April. So who is Mark Bridger? Mark Bridger was born in Sutton, South London in 1965 and moved to Machynlleth before getting married in 1990. At the time of April's disappearance, he had 3 children, including an older son and 2 daughters, aged 7 and 10, who lived just yards from April's home, and they are believed to have all played together at times. Bridger was also known to the Jones family. April's dad first met him in 1992 when a 30-something Bridger was dating the 15-year-old sister of Mr. Jones's then-girlfriend. This wasn't the first time Bridger had been in contact with the police either. He was put on probation at age 19 after being caught with a firearm, and in 2004 had been convicted of threatening a police officer with a machete following a row with an ex-partner. In 2007 he was also given a suspended jail sentence for punching a man. On Thursday, October 4th, police held another press conference and remained strong in their approach to searching for the missing girl. They didn't give much away in terms of the investigation, but stated there wasn't anything to connect another subject or vehicle to the disappearance, and that a vast amount of forensic analysis was taking place at the time. It seems that they believed they had their man, although any trace of little April was still yet to be found. On Thursday afternoon, police officers began to focus their search on a whitewashed cottage and barn outbuilding, 5 miles from where April went missing. The property was lived in by Bridger. The search was thorough, with manhole covers and concrete slabs raised in an effort to find April. It was clear to those watching on that the investigation had entered a more somber phase. Cadaver dogs were deployed, and water around the area was checked. On Friday the 5th of October, police announced that they no longer believed April to be alive. A murder inquiry was launched and detectives had until Saturday afternoon to charge or release Mark Bridger. The following day, police did indeed charge Mark Bridger with the murder of April Jones, but they still had not found her body or any trace of her. In custody, Mark had admitted that he took April, but that he could not remember what had happened to her. His memory, it seemed, had failed to recall the most important part of that evening. Appearing in court on the Monday the 8th of October, Bridger was bombarded with abuse from members of the public as they banged on the passing police van, yelling at him as he was driven inside. He was charged with murder, abduction, and unlawful disposal and concealment of a body. The case was adjourned until the 11th of January the following year. Searches continued for April's body throughout the rest of that year, but soon, the new year came around, and Bridger was back in court once more, where he entered a not guilty plea to the murder of April, although it was stated that he conceded he was probably responsible for her death. A trial date was set for the 25th of February 2013. However, it was postponed until Monday the 29th of April. Searches continued for April, but a week before Bridger was due to stand trial, the search for her remains was called off. In 2012, human remains were discovered in a nearby woodland area. DNA testing confirmed the remains belonged to April. The news devastated her family and the community, who had held on to hope for so long. April's family was heartbroken. They released a statement expressing their grief and the overwhelming love they felt from the community during the search. The outpouring of support was a testament to how much April was cherished. The trial began on April 29th, and a number of things were brought out about Bridger's life in the days leading up to April's murder. On the day of her abduction, Bridger had broken up with his girlfriend, and he didn't go to work. Instead, he stayed at home, watching cartoons online of young girls being abused. He contacted several women and asked them out on dates before attending his daughter's parents' evening meetings at around 5:30 p.m. At 7:15 p.m. he was seen near the garages where April went missing, before being seen again moments later driving away quickly. The next morning around 9 a.m., Bridger was seen carrying a black bin bag while walking along a small road near the river. When questioned about this, he said he had had a wee, and that if April's DNA was found on his penis it would be because of this wee. This, for obvious reasons, was an incredibly suspicious thing to say to the police. At 10:30 a.m. that same morning, he was seen walking his dog 3 miles from the town. He was caught on footage from the police helicopter. Smoke can be seen coming from the chimney of his house. At 3 p.m. that day, the police arrive at his house looking for April, and they noted that the cottage was hot and smelled strongly of detergent, and this made them immediately suspicious. He was arrested 30 minutes later near the river and immediately said that he already knew what it was about. A concentration of blood was found in front of the wood burner in the living room underneath the carpet and on the hearth. The blood on the underside of the carpet was large and suggested that the visible blood on the top of the carpet had been cleaned away. More specks of blood were found on the shower curtain and on the washing machine. There was also a trail of blood leading from the living room door to the center of the room. In September 2013, April's family held a funeral for the little girl, with mourners wearing a splash of pink, April's favorite color. Instead of flowers, her parents asked for donations to a church project which sponsors a 5-year-old girl in Uganda. The sponsorship lasts her childhood, and to help her finish education, with any remaining money going to the other villagers. Mark Bridger was charged with April's murder. During the trial, the prosecution painted a harrowing picture of what had transpired. Bridger's defense claimed that he was not guilty of murder, but the evidence against him was overwhelming. The jury found Bridger guilty of abduction and murder on May 30, 2013. He was sentenced to life in prison, with a minimum of 35 years before he could be considered for parole. In January 2014, Bridger abandoned an appeal against his whole life tariff and remains in prison. In November 2014, the house where Bridger lived and is assumed to have killed April was demolished, and in 2015, a memorial garden was created on the space that the house once stood as family and friends remember April and the short but precious time she had with them.